the more in my body I get, the more it becomes about survival. And art has a lesser purpose, entertainment. It's product that people can interact with, but it's not meaningful beyond that. As an artist, I'm not really sure what to make anymore. And in some ways, I feel like I don't need to be making anything. Everyone else is already making stuff, and I don't need to add to the already endless amount of content that exists. In fact, I would like to destroy most of it in sort of a Library of Alexandria burning kind of way. And all art has value. It's just not all necessary. In the same way that if I make a clay duck, that's pretty cool. If I make 50 clay ducks, that's kind of a lot of clay ducks. I'm drawn to the idea of beauty that has function beyond itself. Is there merit in just something being what it is? Doesn't it have to have a function? And a lot of people who are better artists than I, better people than I, are really of the opinion that everything is art, and all art is meaningful, and all art is worthwhile. I understand where they're coming from. I understand that perspective and the reason for taking it. I do think that there are things that aren't worth making, or at the very least, are not worth keeping around after you've made them. My high school art teacher once told me that art is not precious. And I think what she meant was that if everything is art, not all of that art needs to be around forever. If you make a clay duck, you don't have to fire it. You can take that clay and mold it into something else. You can make a better duck, a bigger duck, a different bird. There's merit in doing, but is there always merit in keeping? I feel like we're at a stage where we're just hoarding everything. The only art that I've kept around is art that continues to be meaningful to me, and meaning being function. And here's the thing about the idea that everything is art. Is everything art everything? I think it's one thing to say that there's beauty in everything, or that you could find beauty in everything. But to say that everything is art, what do you mean by that? Art has a function. It serves a purpose. Anything that doesn't isn't art. Okay, well, you could say even decoration. What's decorative? The function is to be decorative. The function is to beautify a space. But to beautify it how? To add complexity to it? To add contrast to it? You put something on your wall because it serves a function. All those sticky notes behind me are ideas. They're things that every morning when I wake up, I look at the wall and I read one of the ideas. And these are ideas that I've collected throughout my life. Quotes and things that people have said. They're useful to me. They remind me about how I want to live, how I want to look at things. The pieces over here are pieces that I made that are the most meaningful things that I've ever made. They remind me of a thing that is true about the way that I want to live. But then we hoard things. We keep things around that we don't need. There's so much art here that I should destroy, I should get rid of. We are making so many objects in the world that can't be recycled, that can't be reused. Art is supposed to be recyclable. The entire material world is supposed to be recyclable. But we've lost the art of destruction, of knowing what to destroy and how to destroy it. Once I was sitting under a great oak tree, and there were all these leaves all over the ground. There were dry leaves. And I picked one of these leaves up and I just started crushing it in my hand and watching it disintegrate into the ground. And I thought in that moment, how like the destroyer gods. You know Pluto, Hades maybe, Shiva. There are these mythological figures that represent destruction and renewal. Fire eats up what once was to clear the ground for something new, and to take that material, reduce it to its simplest components. You get ash, you get sand, you get dust. Our bodies are dust. Sometimes I walk into a room filled with sunlight. I shake my head and little particles of dust fly everywhere, reminding me that I'm decomposing. To be alive, to exist, is to be in a constant state of decomposition. And that's not a scary thing. Really, it's not. It's a necessity. Constant growth and decomposition. If you aren't doing one of those things, you aren't alive. Change is life. Cycles are life. That's why I've converted to the religion of the seasons. And that sounds crazy and cultish, but all I mean by that, you look around in the world and you see everything is fractals. And that sounds crazy too. We're mirrors of each other. Beauty begets. We want to multiply. We're just a big organism. And it's not a bad thing to want to multiply. But multiplication without destruction is, like, by definition, cancerous. We've reached the point, that threshold, what we're creating is just masses, like cancerous growths. And that is what a lot of art has become. And I'm not going to contribute to that. It's like against my principles. If I'm going to create something, I'm going to create something that won't last. And I'm going to create something that I don't give a shit if anyone sees or not. I'm going to create something that is entirely for myself. And then I'm going to destroy it. And I'm going to have a fucking blast doing it. You know that Pierce the Veil song, Disasterology? I love that song. The chorus of that song goes, "Can we create something beautiful and destroy it? Nobody knows I dream about it." I think that's kind of the anthem these days. I studied literature in college. And then I decided, fuck that. I don't want to contribute to creating more garbage. And what I mean by garbage is not things that don't have value and that aren't worth making, but things that have value for such a short period of time that then they are immediately discarded. They don't decompose. They just sit in landfills. People toss them out and then they sit there for thousands and thousands of years. It's like plastic. And so now, I want to go into the business of transmutation. I want to take garbage and recycle it back into dust. I want to be a worm. Eat up the bodies of all the things that we've made and shit them out again as the materials that we use to make them. Our landfills are filling up. The sea is full of plastic. All our trees are getting cut down. Our air is full of smoke. There's pieces of metal floating around our planet hundreds of miles an hour. Junk. Scraps. We gotta have a better waste management system. We need to be creating better materials that break down better. How long do we want what we make to last? We gotta be intentional about that. When you buy something, you have to know how you're gonna dispose of it when it breaks. You have to know how you're gonna fix it when it breaks. You're gonna have to know what to do with it if you don't want it anymore. There's so much junk in this room. You can't see in my closet, but I need to get rid of a ton of stuff. On my bookshelf, there's like 50 books that I've never read and probably never will read because I've had them since I was 11 and I've grown out of them. We live in a culture of excess, and that's not something that's profound or new. Fucking everyone knows it. And here's the thing, that's not even like necessarily a moral thing. Based on everything I've been saying so far, you could say like, oh, this guy, he's all about reducing waste. And yes, I am. But that's not even necessarily from a moral perspective, but just from like a practical perspective. It is functional to have a moderate amount of items. You ever seen like those hoarding shows? It's just not practical to want things all the time and to like keep buying stuff that you don't need. Just stop making stuff. Stop producing stuff. Stop producing at such an insane fucking rate that we can't get rid of all the shit that we make. Our world is overrun by garbage. And it's not going to go away as long as any of us live. It's possible that some of this garbage will still exist on the surface of the earth when the sun blows up in a couple 100 billion years. You know, and I guess then it won't matter. But right now, we could be living in such a better world that's not overrun by garbage, where our environment isn't dying. We're alive now. Let's make the world now as good as it can be. It's not just about for our descendants. Let's do this selfishly. And I don't know enough about the environment to be speaking on specific topics, but I know enough that I care about it. There's too many fucking issues to talk about it all, to say it all. Just pick one thing that you care about, pick one thing, and work toward that. You know what you need to do. Start.